és a mitjanit a Barcelona. Puc veure com passa.
To counter the wrong narrative which is widely distributed, particularly in Germany and France, saying that, oh, these governments and these guys down there, they have overspent it, and now we have to rescue them with our taxpayers' money. You know, that's what the ordinary German thinks about the euro crisis, and they have no idea at all that there would have been no bubble in Ireland and Spain and Greece and Portugal and Cyprus if not so many German money would have flown to there. Yeah, and the main purpose was to demonstrate that there is a co-responsibility for what happened in the crisis countries on the side of German investors, and by this on the side of German government, which our government completely refuses to accept. As you can see in the film, the interview with our Minister of Finance, Mr. Schäuble, Mr. Schäuble simply denies that there is any co-responsibility on the side of the investors, which from an economic point of view makes no sense, because, you know, if somebody lends somebody else money and the taker, the debtor, does not invest wise this money, then of course it is the duty of the lender also to check whether this money is invested in a good way, and they didn't. Mm-hmm. So that was the main purpose of the film.
And do you think that you managed to discover exactly where the money from the banks went?
Of course, not exactly. What I wanted to demonstrate is that this information, who are the beneficiaries of the bank bailouts, is deliberately kept secret in order not to make clear from where to where the money flows. But on the other hand, there are general figures available who can demonstrate that a very big part of the money, for example, the money which the Spanish government lent from the other Euro countries, has been spent to repay debtors, creditors in other Euro countries, and particularly in Germany.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that German banks, especially but French banks and English banks, have lost the money they risked before the crisis, or they have recovered?
Most of the money they have invested in the crisis country has been recovered, because it has been substituted by credits given by the other Euro countries. You know, that's the main purpose of the whole Euro crisis bailouts, is to substitute debt to private creditors by debt to official creditors, yeah, to state creditors or taxpayers, or you may say. That is the core business of the Troika, yeah, and in the case of Spain, of the Commission, yeah, and the ESM.
Do you think it's impossible to end with the secret about the money on banks and how all this function?
Of course it would be possible. The clearing banks do have all the data, and the depositor banks, they do have the data about their clients. So if the monetary authorities, the regulatory authorities, and their governments, if they would like to know who the creditors are, it would be easy to find out. And in the film, I demonstrate there is a German example. You know, when the German insolvent bank Hypo Real Estate has been rescued, there must have been somebody in the Ministry of Finance or in the Chancellery who wanted to know who are the beneficiaries, who are the people who we are going to rescue. And then he ordered, or she, I don't know, maybe Mrs. Merkel herself, ordered a list produced by the Bundesbank, which is our central bank, which listed all the unsecured creditors of Hypo Real Estate, which would have lost money in case we would have not bailed out the bank. So this list has been produced and demonstrates, yes, if the political will is there, it is possible to do this list. But even this list back then has been kept secret. It only came out through an inquiry by the parliament and other authorities.
You obtain some information you explain in the documentary about some of these banks, but you have to take it from some friend. It's not clear. It's always difficult. Doing this kind of investigation, it's a little dangerous.
Dangerous? Well, it might be dangerous if I would have been successful. You know, the information I revealed were more or less public. For example, concerning the creditors of Bankia, yeah, the only information I got were those information which are available through the Bloomberg Financial Information Service. And these informations were given to Bloomberg by investment funds. And by far they did not represent the whole amount. I think it was less than 15% of the whole amount of outstanding bonds of Bankia who were to which they were given data on the Bloomberg Information Service. So if I would have had the real data, for example, about Bankia, and it would have turned out that there are 3 or 5 or 10 major investors who benefit from this, and maybe 1 or 2 of them were other rich Spanish people, maybe it could have become dangerous, but unfortunately I have never reached that level of information.
I don't know if you know that, but today in the first page of the newspaper El País here in Spain, they say that in Bankia they decided to put off the president Rodrigo Rato after the pressure of United States. Who really decides the things in this world of money?
Sorry, I can't comment on that because I do not know the story and the facts and the evidence. It is, of course, the Americans always play a role as long as their banks and their money is involved. For example, in the Irish case, it was not only the ECB who blocked the Irish intention to let the unsecured bondholders pay for the bank's failures. It was also the then American Finance Minister Geithner who intervened and more or less said, no, you cannot do this because via the credit default derivatives, a lot of Wall Street money is also involved. And so, please, you have to take the debt on the Irish shoulder. Yes, Geithner played a role. So it might be that also in Spain, the Americans played a role, but I have no evidence on this.
There is a kind of frustration in the people because of they hear that they say we have to cut services in hospitals, in schools. Because you have a very great deficit and debt, and you have to pay a lot of money to the banks. But they don't know exactly to whom we have to pay, and that's the point. We want to know if we have to make cuts in our services. At least we would like to know to whom we have to pay, and it is very frustrating.
Exactly, that's my demand, and put this demand. And you know, your government has all the means necessary to find out who the beneficiaries are, who gets the money, you know, because every month they have to pay the interest rates, or when the bonds come due, they have to make the principal payment. And if they would not have access to this data, they would not know to where to send the money. Maybe they send it only to the clearing banks, but they could ask the regulatory, the oversight authority, which I think is the Central Bank of Spain in Spain. They could ask the central bank to gather the data who are the holders of these bonds right now. Maybe you would find out that a lot of these bonds now are held by American hedge funds. Possible, because the original German investors since long have sold it. Nobody knows. Yeah? These are tradable securities, so the ownership may change over time. But it's easy to find out for a government if there is a political will.
We have friends here working in associations. They try to find out this debt to whom we have to pay, but they say to them that it's very complicated, it's very difficult, because they can say exactly to whom, because they say at the end of this month we have to pay it.
Sorry, but who's they? Who says what?
The government. Here in Catalonia is the Catalonian government. I guess in Spain it's the Spanish government. No, when they ask for a figure, for numbers of that we have to pay 10,000 million euros at the 31st of May.
And you're talking about which kind of debt? Debt with the Catalonia government?
Yeah, yes. In that case, I think it's the same for the Spanish government. But in Catalonia, where my friends work, they try to discover to whom this money they have to pay at the end of the month. And they say, oh, it is very complicated because there is a bank, but this bank has to pay this to another bank, another fund, immersion fund. And
of course, yes.
We cannot find that.
So yes, it is complicated. I admit, it's not just one phone call and then all the data will come. But of course, the monetary authority or the regulatory authority of the banks, they have all the executive power needed to collect the data until the very final beneficiary. And I'm quite sure. I've verified it when I called the clearing banks. There are two big clearing banks in Europe. Yeah, it's Euroclear, and which is owned by Deutsche Börse. And another one in Belgium, which I do not remember the name right now. I called them back then when I did research for the film and asked them, would you be ready to give the data to where the interests or the principal repayment are sent? And they said, of course, we are forbidden by law to give any private data, yes? But if the government or the authorities would request us to hand over the data, of course we would do this, if it would be legal. And to make it legal, you only have to use your own laws. So if there is a political will, it's possible to find out.
You'll keep working on that, or you desisted to discover exactly where the money of the banks, the bailout banks, go?
No. On this special part, I do no longer do research because I have no new approach. If you give me one, of course, I start again. I still want to know, but I tried what I can. What I'm currently doing is I'm doing research for a film about the more general aspect, how the Troika and the crisis regime has worked in the affected countries in the past 4 years, and which mistakes have been taken. How democracy has been more or less sabotaged, and how the affected people react. It will be a 90-minute documentary also for Arte and for the German TV network ARD. Will take some time, but we have already found a lot of details so far unknown. So I'm looking forward to produce.
When will it be done?
Well, shooting will start next week, but we have to go to Greece, to Portugal, to Ireland, to Cyprus, and to the US, and to Brussels and Frankfurt. So it will take some time. Probably it will be finished in December and broadcasted early next year.
How did the economic and political world in Germany accept your documentary? Do they like it? What do they say?
Difficult to say. Well, the public the public liked it very much, and we have been awarded the German TV award, which you may call the German TV Oscar, yeah, for the as best documentary of the year. So we had a broad auditorium, but government officials or in general political figures from the governmental camp have not reacted at all. So I can't tell you what they think about the film. But so far, at least nobody has said that I have produced something wrong or said something wrong. There was, except one Green representative in the European Parliament, he told me that he thought that I was going for a complete denial of bank bailouts, and that would have been extremely risky in the time when it happened, because it could have led to a complete collapse of Europe's financial system. And I replied, no, that's wrong. I only wanted to know who are the beneficiaries and how to find a way to make them pay their part for the cost of their own wrong investments, which is something different. We could have gone, for example, for an additional wealth tax or something like that, or any other special tax to make them pay and not to let the banks fail. But anyway, we have to find out and have to get the data in order to get an informed debate about this. But as long as the beneficiaries are hidden, we never have an open debate, and it's the opposite of democracy to pay billions and billions and billions of taxpayers' money to beneficiaries which the voters not even have the right to know. This has nothing to do with democratic procedures.
For ending, will we have to wait for Wolfgang Schäuble memories to know the answers to the questions you made him?
Which kind of memory?
Wolfgang Schäuble, the minister. Schäuble. my German is bad.
I'm quite sure he himself doesn't know, because he didn't want to know. You know, he did not order additional data. In the interview, he even refused to know that German money was involved. And when I presented him the witness of, for example, the president of a Spanish caja, then he said, well, maybe, but it was not us who made them by force and with arms to take the money. They took the money from us deliberately, so they alone are responsible. That's all what he was interested in, and the rest he doesn't care. So probably Mr. Schäuble will not reveal the data. Maybe one other finance minister later on, but probably then the data will be lost, because the data will not be stored forever.
Do you feel frustrated by that?
No, not by that. I feel frustrated that there are so very few people who put the question. You know, if there would be thousands and thousands of people who ask, where does all my taxpayers' money go, then the answer would have been given since long. But because very few people really care about this, because they always think, oh, with this money things, or everything is too complicated, you know. I think our main problem is we have the governments we deserve, because so very few people put the right questions.
És a mitjanit a Barcelona